Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, folks. It's been a minute since I've done a full length video, but we're back. We're going to do a couple things that have to do with food, I think, over the next couple weeks here, in going on into winter like we are. And one of those things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about foodie books, right? Because in addition to foodies loving food or eaties just loving to eat, foodies and eaties also like books about food. And I've read quite a few of them. Some of them are pretty recent, some of them aren't, but we're going to talk about them on this channel. One of the first books that I think I'd like to talk about is a book that came out last year, and this is Stanley Tucci's Taste My Life Through Food. I'm going to talk about that one. Um, so foodie books, and I read a lot anyway. I don't know what kind of foodie books that you like. Some people like books that just talk about the recipes, right? Just talk about the recipes, nothing about their personal life. Some people like books that are heavily into the personal life. I think I bought Lydia, what's her name, Bostanovich's one of her books. And I was kind of disappointed because that one didn't have anything much about her life. But so foodie books are all different. Some are biographical. I like biographical, but often the foodie books I run into aren't that. And this book, which came out last year, it's kind of a mixture of a little bit of autobiography and then some recipes, really not very much at all. So you might know this particular author from several movies, such as the night I keep the book or the film that I keep getting Daniel to try to watch with me, which is called The Big Night. Is that it? I can't. I think so. Anyway, that's his big film that he directed, and he talks about that in the book. That I'm gonna get Daniel to watch here during this winter break, no matter what I have to do to get him to watch it. He talks about that. It just talks about his life in terms of food. So I'll talk about a couple things. He has some things that are kind of neat. He's on a Renaissance kind of guy. He's got a watercolor and a couple watercolors in the hardcover version. I'm gonna assume that's now available in paperback. I got the hardcover version because I couldn't wait to read this guy. Even though I don't have cable and I don't watch a lot of TV, he has a show I think on CNN maybe,
That sounds right.
and he talks about traveling, I think, throughout Europe and food. I just know him from, what do I know him from? From movies that you guys might remember, like uh, is the one about he plays Julia Child's husband? Is it Jules and Julia? Was that the name of it?
I thought
Or
it was Julie and Julia.
Julia and Julia? Yeah, that's it. He talks about that in this book a little bit. He talks about so there's a little Hollywood dish in here. He talks about Meryl Streep and him cooking, which is hilarious. I like that. And I won't give when I do book reviews, I won't give away a lot of the plot points, but I'll just talk about some things that I found that I liked about the book. He talked about in the first third, he talks about a New York establishment that started in the 1930s called the Carnegie Deli. And one thing I like about foodie books is a lot of times I can't afford to go to certain places and travel. So I absolutely love to hear about things like Alice Waters Restaurant in California, or these institutions like the Four Seasons, which is another famous restaurant institution in New York City, or used to be. And I did some deep dives on the Carnegie Deli that was founded in the 1930s, and I think it's closed. I think I sadly went on here and did some research. I think it's closed, but you learn about some of the restaurants because I'm going to say Stanley Tucci is around 60 or 50s or so. The guy's been around the block, so he knows a lot of neat restaurants that he talks about within this book. And he talks about restaurants, or not restaurants, where he does talk about that a little bit. But he talks about some of his family classic recipes, like, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, timpano. And he'll give you the recipes that he has. The only thing I don't like about him is if you try to remotely watch your weight, like Rosie and I do. Rosie's beneath the book here taking a nap. Is this recipe here serves 12 to 16, so I'm not going to be making that anytime soon. How do you make that healthy? I have no idea. He also talks about, and then he makes a lot of neat references about other foodie things that you guys might find interesting. He talks about, besides the Big Night or whatever that's slipping me, that film that he produced and directed started. He talks about a movie called Babette's Feast, and he talks about food surrounding that and about the film itself, which was a 1987 Danish film that talked about two older women, and cooking and food in the 1800s. It sounds great. I tried to do some scavenging around on the internet to find a free copy of that. Of course, I couldn't. It does have captions, so if you don't like captions, foreign films, you won't like that. He does have, and he has fun things in here. Like if you're a cocktail drinker, he's got a recipe here for an old fashioned. But I have to, because I'm from the Midwest and grew up right next to the Wisconsin border, I have to take pause on his description for the old fashioned because shocker, in mine, I like having Diet 7 Up, and he doesn't have that in there. But what the heck? He's got fun cocktail recipes in here, and that's one of them that I marked. That I liked. Let's see, what else did I mark here?
Oh, your bookshelf's getting restless.
Yeah, the bookshelf is being restless. There, Rosie. What else? What else? What else? I'm trying to mark all the things here.
Isn't that what dogs and small children are useful for? Holding
Yes,
books.
exactly. Holding the books and moving the books around, of course. He did have a recipe in here. I didn't mark it. I couldn't really find it in here, but he talked about cacio di pepe, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is really just his version of a my opinion of that is it's pasta with pepper, which is something that I make a lot, and it's funny because I'm not Italian. I make it a lot, and I make it a lot the way he says to do it, where you kind of make a little bit of an emulsion with your whipping and with the butter in there. I just called it you're poor and you don't have a lot in your pantry, and you happen to have a lot of black pepper and Parmesan, so you make a good pasta dish. But he does have things like that in this book that makes it really definitely well worth the read, especially now that I'm sure that it's probably in paperback. What else there? If he did some other restaurant name dropping, he talks about too. He talks about his first wife and the food ventures that they used to like to do. And unlike a lot of people in Hollywood, he hasn't been married 47,000 times, and he was married to her for a long time and had kids, and she had breast cancer and died. So that's kind of sad. But he talks very frank to the point about that, and meeting his new wife and his children. He's got quite a few children, and one thing that I thought was kind of funny, if you're from the Midwest, is he talks about being proud of his kids because they're, quote, good eaters, end quote. And I totally know what that means. That means you raise your kid up to not be a brat and try everything and not be a baby and explore your palate. So when you get to be an adult, you can have a foodie, wonderful adventure. But anyway, I recommend this at getting it, maybe getting it for the holidays. It's a quick read. But if you get it in your stocking at Christmas time, you'll whip right through it. I tried to make it last all summer, and I didn't. I whipped right through it. It's a good read. So if I don't talk to everybody before your Christmas holiday, make sure you have a good Christmas holiday. Make sure you do some good eating. Drop me a line down below if you are going to do some fun Christmas explorations. I was going to do I'm going to mispronounce it, a Sisfincione. I know I mispronounced that, but in memory of a friend of mine who passed away. We used to make that pizza every year. Daniel's going to be gone, but maybe Daniel will be back for New Year's, and maybe we'll even do a video about Siffincione. I think I pronounced it somewhat right there, which is an Italian Christmas pizza. Otherwise, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. Otherwise, have a safe and good holiday, and I'll talk to you in the next book review.